pleasure to invite Dato' Captain Isam to announce MAG's financial performance for the year 2024.
Thank you, Nelia. Thank you, Nelia. Distinguished guests, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, friends, I see a lot of faces. A very good morning to all. As introduced, on my left is Hui, our Group Chief Financial Officer. On my right is Brian, our Chief Strategy Officer, and far left is Captain Saluran, COO of Malaysia Airlines. I also have some of my EXCO members seated at the back there from various subsidiaries and companies in the group. Firstly, I would like to take this opportunity to thank you for attending this morning's briefing session as we present the financial performance result for the year 2024. 2024 has undoubtedly been a year that tested our resolve in MAG. We recognize early on that path to recovery would not be linear. There will be speed bumps along the way, particularly after the strong financial performance that we achieved in 2023, where we recorded our first ever net profit after interest, which is net, since our inception in 2015. Expectations were high, and rightly so. However, the reality proved to be very challenging. Across the industry, we faced a perfect storm, from delayed aircraft deliveries to persistent supply chain bottlenecks, compounded by external pressures that disrupted operations at critical junctures of our journey. We made a very difficult decision, but necessary, to proactively adjust our network in late Q4 2024. A decision that had implications across our operations, customers' engagement, and our bottom line. These cuts came during what is typically a strong quarter for us in MAG, and as expected, they weighed on our full year revenue performance for 2024. However, our role as a national aviation group goes far beyond commercial objectives. We are here to serve, to maintain vital connectivity, support national economic growth, and to do so in a manner that is both sustainable and responsible. It is this higher purpose that drives the commitment of over 13,000 dedicated employees across our group, each one playing a crucial role in delivering that mission every day. It is also the reason we have been able to navigate these challenges with determination, our people in MAG. So, ladies and gentlemen, the financial performance. In spite of the challenges that I mentioned to you earlier faced by MAG, particularly towards the second half of the year, I am pleased to announce that for the financial year ending 2024, Malaysia Aviation Group recorded a net profit after interest and tax (NIAT) of 54 million ringgit, alongside an operating profit of 113 million ringgit, making our third consecutive year of positive operating results. Well done to the Malaysia Aviation Group team. In addition, we achieved an EBITDA of 788 million ringgit and ended the year with a strong cash balance of 3 billion ringgit. Importantly, all of this was achieved without any capital injection from our shareholder, Khazanah Nasional Berhad, since 2021, a testament to the group's ability to generate sustainable growth from within. Despite the capacity cuts, passenger traffic remained robust in the premium segment with stronger load factors for both passengers and cargo segment. The group's positive NIAT was further supported by a reversal of impairment on rights of use assets, aircraft property, plant and equipment, and intangible assets amounting to 426 million ringgit. These impairments, initially recognized during COVID-19 pandemic in 2020, were reversed due to the improved capacity, revenue, seed factor, and yield experienced in the financial years 2023 and 2024. Beyond financials, our main line was awarded with the Apex 4-star major airline status and secured a top 10 ranking for World Best Cabin Crew by Skytrack. We also moved up the ladder to number 39 in the World Best Airline ranking and earned accolades for our in-flight dining and the loyalty program. These results are testament to the continued agility and resilience of a group that remains focused even amidst challenges. Further details on the performance and strategic outlook will be provided shortly by Hui, Brian, and Captain Nasser. Investing in the future, which is very important and very key to the journey of MAG. While this is a reason to be proud, we remain focused to strengthen our capabilities. Operational disruptions continue to challenge us until today. Our mainline fleet is aging, while we have been actively enhancing with new generation aircraft. Global supply chain disruptions and delivery delays have impacted the pace of our fleet renewal. However, our commitment to investing in the future remains unwavering, and by 2030, we aim to operate a fleet of 55 modern narrow-body aircraft, including the Boeing 737-8 and 737-10, to significantly improve operational efficiency, reduce emissions, and elevate the customer experience across domestic and regional routes. In parallel, we continue to integrate the A330neo into our long-haul network. 2 A330neo aircraft are already in service, flying to destinations like Melbourne, Bali, and Auckland. Tomorrow, we will welcome our third A330neo, with 7 more expected to join the fleet later this year. We are also continuing to evaluate our wide-body fleet requirements, staying aligned with market development and exploring all available options to ensure we are well positioned for future growth. This will be further briefed by Mr. Brian later on fleet. That being said, ladies and gentlemen, we have to remain cautious. Rising tariff, inflationary pressures, and global supply chain volatility will continue to shape our cost landscape. As we move forward, it is crucial that we stay prudent, balancing the need to manage costs with the necessity of investing in key areas to maintain our momentum and long-term growth. Diversification is central to this. Our non-airline businesses are playing an increasingly vital role in MAG's broader growth. From strengthening regional training capabilities to reinforcing our talent pipeline, expanding maintenance capacity and capability, and driving growth in areas like in-flight catering. As we look ahead, ladies and gentlemen, we do so with purpose. Our focus remains clear: to build a group that is resilient, relevant, and ready for the future. This is our commitment. A commitment to growth and adaptability will guide us through the challenges that lie ahead, ensuring that we remain a strong, competitive player in the industry while upholding our duties in serving the nation above all. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, I would like to convey our utmost appreciation to all of you attending the media briefing today. And we will be having another press conference tomorrow at MyTech to make several key announcements on our network and unveil special invitation with Manchester United. So we do hope you can join us. For that, thank you. I'll pass on to Captain Nasser for the briefing. Thank you.
morning. Thank you, Captain Nizam. It's a pleasure to share some key updates, ladies and gentlemen, on how we, Malaysia Airlines and also MAG, are advancing on our operation performance. Next slide, please. So, ladies and gentlemen, as highlighted by Captain Nizam earlier on, with regards to the global economics, geopolitical issue, and also challenges that the industry is facing, in the context of supply chain, in the context of OEM late delivery of aircraft, talent shortages, in Malaysia Airlines, we are not spared. We had the same challenges as well. And as you know, in the last quarter 2 and quarter 3 last year, we had few flight diversions also at turn back. And these are mostly due to the technical maintenance issue that we had. So, ladies and gentlemen, to uphold safety to our passengers and also to our people, in quarter 4 last year, that is exactly on the 25th of August, we had taken a proactive capacity reduction where we had cut slightly more than 6,300 flights across in quarter 4 2025, and mostly on our domestic sector, Greater China, Northern Asia, and also ANZ, involving around 1 million of our passengers at the time, which have been relocated after 2 weeks after we have cancelled the flight. Right, on top of the safety of the passengers, it allows us in Malaysia Airlines to address our maintenance strategy holistically. Next slide, please. The maintenance issue that we had. First and foremost, we were addressing with regards to our talent shortages, manpower in our engineering segment. In our engineering, we're able to onboard close to 100 people the last 1 year, up to March 2025. That has helped us, our engineering area, to improve our manpower planning with regards to our maintenance in Malaysia Airlines. Secondly, what we did was we were very endowment to our supplier, right? We had requested, we demanded asked to all the suppliers that is serving us, and we have increased the moving parts, especially with regards to the spare part of the aircraft. And lastly, what we have done in the last few months in operations is that we address in investing a lot in our spare engines to ensure that we are addressing the challenges that we had from our MROs with regards to the turnaround time. And the MROs that are serving us either in China or in Singapore were delivering 2x more in terms of the time that has been planned and scheduled. Hence, by having the spare engines that we have got, are able to manage to maintain our aircraft to fly accordingly. Next slide, please. So, ladies and gentlemen, in terms of our operational performance, we just do not monitor the on-time performance. There are other areas that we monitor in terms of our operational performance metrics, the likes of our CSI, the likes of our technical dispatch reliability, and also how we manage our mishandled baggage. As you can see on the slide, there is an incremental in our customer service index. It has been many years that we have not reached our target in terms of our CSI. Year to date, our CSI has reached to 83% of the customer service index. In fact, our technical dispatch reliability has been maintaining at a high 99% across 2 years in 2024 and also 2025. And in addition to that, if you can have a look at the slide, that we are able to reduce the mishandled baggages in terms of our 1,000 passengers that we carry from was about high at 6 mishandled bags per 1,000 passengers to only about 3.31 baggages per 1,000 passengers. Right. In our NPS, or Net Promoter Score, at this point of time, our score has been positive. It's scoring about plus 25 in terms of number. And let's move slide. Next slide, please. Right. On the customer experience touch points, ladies and gentlemen, as you know that we monitor all the touch points for our customer, either starting from the first time they engage the website and all the way to the customer arrive, which is arrival. And as we have been highlighting, the 3 areas that we've been addressing, especially with regards in 2024 and 2025, it's under 3 segments. Number 1 is our in-flight dining. That is our F&B. The strategy that we had in September 2023 with regards to our catering, we have made a lot of investment in our F&B. And today, we are happy to share that we do have the Best of Asia menu that we rotate every 3 months. We do have also the menu of Malaysia, where we have our nasi lemak, We have our goreng pisang on board depending on the sectors, right? And hence with all that, we have seen the FMB CSI has increased to mid-60s last year to 73 this year. Second area that we focus is on our cabin, the in-flight cabin. As mentioned by Captain Izam earlier on, with regards to the induction of all the fleet renewal of aircraft that we had, we've got 11 of our Maxes that have been onboarded to Malaysia Airlines. And by tomorrow, we'll be getting another one of our 330 Neo, hence we've got 3 A330 Neo. That has helped us to improve in our in-flight cabin, which is a cabin CSI, and our cabin CSI now stands at about 83%. And one main area that we also focus is on our people, which is on our cabin crew. Our cabin crew is one of our strongest CSI. It stands at about 88%. So with all this CSI and all these operational challenges, strategy that we have done in the last few months, we believe that the stability of operational are able to move forward to carry Malaysia Airlines across the year 2025 and moving forward. I think with that, I'll pass to Huey for the financial performance update.
Thank you, Captain Azam. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Can you hear me?
Louder.
Hello?
Yeah.
Okay. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Can you hear me? At the back? Can? Sorry, cannot. Okay. I have to shout. I'll put it up. Okay. Is this better?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. As you heard from Captain just now, MAG recorded a positive net income after tax this year of 54 million. And this is despite the fact that we cut capacity during the peak period, which is quarter 4 of the year. If you look at our revenue, we're actually down in terms of passenger revenue by 3%, despite a 6% increase in ASK. And that is really mainly because we have cut about 18% capacity in quarter 4, which is typically our peak period where we drive the highest yield. And that has generally impacted the passenger revenue for the year. But at the group level, you can see that the revenue is just 1% lower than last year. And that is really helped by other revenue, mainly cargo. Cargo revenue has been better than last year, mainly because of freighter. Freighter was better in terms of performance because of high yield and higher load. We were also better in terms of performance from our business like Aerodarat, where the ground handling business for third party has actually been better than the year before, where the revenue has also increased. So overall, if you look at the performance for the year, we are really behind because of the capacity cut that we did in quarter 3 and 4. If we have not done the capacity cut, actually we estimated that the profit for the year would have been 580 million. In terms of cash balance, we end the year with about 3 billion cash, strong cash balance with no further injection for our shareholders. Next, please. So MAP for the year, the financial results is actually 39 million profit for net income after tax. And as you can see, in terms of revenue, it is down by 4% despite capacity is up by 7%. Load was really high, 81% versus last year of 77%. So we have seen improvement in load. But yield, as I mentioned earlier, is lower because typically quarter 4 is the period we have the highest yield. But because we cut most of the capacity, then the whole year's yield was actually eroded. Yeah. Cargo revenue for airline is mainly the belly revenue and is lower because of capacity cut. In terms of the performance for the whole airline, if not because of the capacity cut, it would have been much better. As I mentioned just now, at the group level, it would have been improved by about 580 million. And likewise, because the capacity cut is mainly in MAB, you will see that the improvement will have been close to 300 million. Next. So this is the performance by segment. So we have airline segment and non-airline segment. The bulk of revenue for the group actually comes from the airline segment. And if you look at the performance in terms of operating loss for airline segment, The operating loss comes mainly from Firefly and also from Must-Swing, because Must-Swing, the operation is actually a cost recovery operation. Yeah. At MAB level, the operating is profitable at 139 million. So in terms of the non-airlines, the numbers are much better. You can see that NIAT for non-airlines is 138 million. So for 2024, a big contribution of the NIAT comes from the non-airlines. Next, please. I mentioned earlier on that if we have not cut capacity, the group performance will have been much better. So if you take into account the estimated revenue loss because of the capacity cut, the cost that we actually have to incur to actually put passenger on other airline, the cost we have to incur to refund and also pay penalty for some of the passenger, because we, apart from the capacity cut, we also reschedule and cancel some of the flights. And also a lot of the costs that we have to incur because of engine reliability issues. If you have taken those into account, we will have actually, if you don't have those costs and we have actually been able to generate those revenue, our performance for the year will have been 580 million profit. Yeah. Next. In terms of cash balance, at working level, at operating level, we are actually cash positive. You can see that we managed to generate about 1.6 billion cash from operations. That is before all the interest payments. But if you take into account the capex spend that we have to incur because of all the operational and engine reliability issues, because we have to also incur additional lease for engines in order to make sure we have enough engines to fly. And also if you take into account the payment we have to make for leases, these payments and so loan that was deferred during COVID, which is close to 1 billion. That year we ended, for us, is actually 3 billion cash balance. Yeah. Next. So if you look at the cash balance year on year, our cash balance remains strong, 3 billion with no drawdown from a shareholder. And I mentioned earlier on, and I want to reiterate, the reason why you see quite a big dilution in the cash balance from 2023 to 2024, a big portion of it is actually capex and also repayment of deferred loan and leases during COVID. I'll now pass on to Brian to talk about fleet.
So, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, so let me take you through our network and fleet plans and talk a little bit about what to expect for the Malaysian Aviation Group moving forward. Next slide, please. And then taking on to look at the network first, we have intentions to grow to 102 destinations, 102 routes by 2030, right? And this is from the 67 routes that we fly direct to today. And we have aspirations to grow our fleet to 120 aircraft from 87 that we have. And all this is to focus on our core APAC markets, really to reinforce our capacity to build where we are strong at, but also to remain relevant to the markets that we serve. Of this, our fleet type will be anchored on primarily three fleets. The first is the narrow body, now secured with the 737 MAX. We have intentions to grow our 330neo fleet from the 20 we have already ordered firm to exercise the remaining 20 at some point in the future. And then also growing our long-haul wide-body fleet from the 7 that we have today to eventually 16. But we're also cognizant that we want to play in the markets that are going to be relevant and where we can win. And so hence we will grow conservatively to our long-haul routes and mainly focus on frequency depth within the Asia-Pac market, upgauging on congested APAC market cities, as well as to reinforce our presence in Australia and New Zealand. Next slide, please. Then what you will see eventually by year 2035 is actually the mix of our fleet. Today we are primarily very heavy on the narrow bodies of the 737s. but we will eventually balance that out to have equal balance between narrow body and wide body. And throughout the next 10 years, you will see us transitioning our fleet from the current fleet that we have, consisting of the 737 NGs, the 330 CEOs and the 350, to eventually move everything to the 737 MAX fleet, 330 neos, and a replacement for the 350s at some point in the early 2030s. But you also see from the percentage of where we fly to, the frequency shares, it will primarily be focused on the Asia-Pac region. Next slide, please. And so the fleet moving forward will be anchored on 2 workhorse fleets. The first 8 more throughout the rest of 2025. As you are aware, we just completed and announced the orders for the 737 MAX fleet. We expect to receive 3 more after the 11 in 2025, and our batch 2, which is the second batch that we recently ordered, we're expected to come in 2029. Now that batch will consist of 2 aircraft types, the MAX 8 as well as the MAX 10. But we do this in the name of trying to elevate the passenger experience on board our fleet, anchored on the 330 neo with the game-changing business class, as well as the enhancements to the economy product. And with the MAX 10, our intention with the longer aircraft is to be able to introduce a direct aisle lie-flat business class product along with an enhanced economy product for the narrow-body fleet. This will enable our passengers to be able to enjoy a seamless product experience. For example, transitioning from a short-haul flight over into a long-haul flight. So case in point, traveling from Perth to UK, you'll be able to experience this good product all the way seamlessly from the 737 MAX 10 all the way to a 350 on the UK route. Likewise from India into Australia as well. Next slide. But looking forward, in terms of what to expect in the short term, obviously a lot of concerns around what is happening with the macroeconomic environment, and particularly the implications of the US tariffs and regime. We see this as perhaps on 3 fronts. The first is obviously the cost hikes that are going to come in as a result of the tariffs implication. We do work with our suppliers and vendors to try and avoid having to incur the additional costs. The second is also the fact that there is a heightened recessionary risk element that we're looking at as well, and monitoring very closely because that will affect travel demand. But also thirdly, because of a supply chain that is still extremely fragile, we expect increased volatility as we try and figure out what is going to happen with the supply chain moving forward, which is already very global and interwoven worldwide. And so here, we will try and manage our costs more efficiently moving forward. We have given instructions to our teams to be more disciplined on costs. We will continue to focus on international flows, which we have successfully done over the past 2-3 years, to drive for better volumes and higher contribution from international flows. We will continue to invest in the product to enhance our passenger experience on board and services on the ground. And also we would remain dynamic and agile in terms of how we manage our capacity in order to cope with the changes in the industry. To sum up for 2025, we expect 2025 to be a continuingly challenging year for aviation, compounded with the impact of the tariffs. We do recognize that MAG needs to adapt, and we need to accelerate the transformation that we're experiencing. We are positioning ourselves for the next phase of the company, which is to move into a growth phase, hence the talk around the network growth and the fleet growth and the investments that we're going to make throughout the next few years. But we're also very cognizant of the few elements that will potentially create a lot more risks. One is the geopolitical instability and the uncertainties in the macroeconomic environment right now. We do anticipate cost pressures to come in. We do anticipate that supply chains will continue to be disrupted, and there will be a lot of noise in terms of what happens there. Talent will continue to be a challenge for all of us in the industry, not just for Malaysia Aviation Group. But we have plans put in place to try and make sure that our pipeline of talent and the retention of talent is strong. And lastly, obviously, we also see some elements of cybersecurity threats. Yeah. So with that, I pass the time back to Captain.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Q&A. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you, Hui. Thank you to Captain Nasa and Brian. I now would like to invite any questions that we. Yes. I don't see BFM. Normally they got the big ones. This is BFM, this one? Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, can I start? Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, just to recap my colleague's update to all of you a while ago. Key takeaways that, Alhamdulillah, that despite the challenges that MAG went through last year, primarily driven by managing aging airplanes, which look very bleak at that time. If we have not induced the capacity cut, we would have ended 2024 better at over, optimistically above 500 million ringgit. And because of the capacity cut, we had to do what we had to do, driven by the costs incurred, especially on relocating customers, maintenance costs and so forth. It is what it is today. However, we have been assisted with some form of reversal of impairment, right of use on property, plants and equipment, and many others. And as Captain Nasa briefed, we did this with our eyes wide open for us to uphold our objective in upholding safety. And also from his update just now, despite all those challenges, we were able to achieve comfortable performance on our on-time performance. Of recent times, we've actually been recording mid 80% on-time performance. CSI, which means Customer Satisfaction Index, feedback from our own customers has risen. Our technical dispatch reliability, the work that the operations team has conducted, has manifested some promising result. But nevertheless, I will not discount managing aging airplane. Whatever work we have done in Q4 is all done and dusted. No. Managing aging fleet requires very precision monitoring of fleets and equipments, and securing components through the supply chain network is tough today. A little bit of explanation how the disruption of supply chain arises over the last few years after COVID. So ladies and gentlemen, I give you a bit of context. If you go back 20 or maybe 30 years ago, when you buy an airplane from a manufacturer, the manufacturer built the components. They produce the components. Then they build the aeroplane. So as the years progresses, today, simplistically, the aircraft manufacturers like Airbus, Comac, Embraer, Boeing, they assemble airplanes. The parts, the components are being manufactured somewhere else, somebody else. So the tier of suppliers, right on top, the aircraft manufacturer, example, Boeing. I give you an example, not trying to give selling points to Boeing, advertising points. Boeing will contract probably a manufacturer called Spirit. Spirit will have lots more small suppliers, right? When COVID hit us, there were lots of issues with regards to talent, retrenchment. People didn't come back to work for these small little companies. And to top it up, geopolitical issues. Main components or raw materials that's needed to produce components are like titanium. Largely, titanium world production comes from Ukraine, about, if I'm not mistaken, about 33%. That itself causes the disruption of supply chain. So the supply chain disruption is, if you look at the word simplistically, you will not really feel the gravity of what is being faced at the industry. If you drill down the network, the ecosystem of supply chain, then you will understand enough. So what I've just mentioned to you is in a huge context of the supply chain disruption. So the fleet growth plan is necessary as briefed by Brian, and we will continue with our strategy of inducing international network flow. And you know, at a time of instability in the macroeconomics, do we continue with our fleet renewal program? You know, ladies and gentlemen, you have to take a bet, because if you don't take a bet for the future, the history will repeat itself. Malaysia Airlines over the last few years, while we have been profitable, but ladies and gentlemen, it is a humongous task to manage and maintain aging fleets. So learning from history, even though with the current macroeconomic environment, we have to make certain bets. And we are confident that what plan that we have induced, the campaign that we have launched, will deliver MAG future aspiration. So we have Destination 2030, and we're looking forward to 2035 onwards. So what the team in MAG today is doing is not for today, it's also to ensure sustainability of this organization for the next 5-10 years. In Malaysia Aviation Group, we have two guiding principles, very simple. Number one, to be commercially sustainable and be profitable. Number two, whatever we do in MAG must be the catalyst for nation building. Two guiding principles. And after that is all the business plans, all the strategies that comes into play. So ladies and gentlemen, while macroeconomic pressures is looming, some have pessimistic views, some has optimistic views, some view that nothing will happen. So in MAG, we have the spectrum from base case right to worst case. And we are scrubbing down to the right every single line item to see, to ascertain what is the exposure that will be faced by MAG, and we will establish to a certain degree MAG own built crystal ball and establish trigger points that what MAG need to do to execute to circumnavigate the looming environment moving forward. Inshallah, I hope the policymakers have some sense and life will continue to be better in the future. Any questions, please? Hands raised there, Nelia. Can you look at who, please? Can you raise your hand, siapa tu? Yes. Introduce yourself, Nelia.
Hello, can you please state your name and your media publication before asking your question, please?
Thank you. Selva from Business Today. Good afternoon, Captain. Two questions. One is with regards to the handover of Mars Wings to Sarawak. So perhaps you can give a expansion on that. What's the financial impact for 2025 with the handover? Is there a financial impact or is there savings from this handover? So that's one. The other question is with regards to President Xi is in Malaysia. Is there any MOU signings for COMAX, commercial narrow bodies for MAG?
I answer number 2 first, Selva. Thank you, Selva. I didn't make any appointment with him. He's not my pay grade, so to speak, Selva. Unfortunately, no, there's no MOU from MAG with China on his visit this time. I believe his visit is more on macroeconomic trade issues with our leadership team in Malaysia. So to answer your first question, hand over Maswing to Sarawak. First and foremost, Maswing is not a profit-generating company. It is a public service obligation organization. It's a zero-sum game to us, Selva. To a certain degree, it eliminates distraction from Malaysia Aviation Group to manage Maswing moving forward. And it was signed in February, the sales and purchase agreement. We are hopeful to hand over the company operations to Sarawak State Government 1st of January 2025. So there is no impact to the P&L, Selva. It's a zero-sum game. So, Selva, you may ask, why did we do Maswing all these years? It's a public service obligation of rural air service, and this is the guiding principle number 2, nation building. It is our responsibility to ensure we connect Bandar and Luar Bandar for the people of Sabah and Sarawak. And what we earn from Maswing is incentive only, right, per year. On a monthly basis, daily basis, is a zero-sum game. We don't lose money, we don't make profit out of it. Incentive in the tune of a yearly average is only about 10 million, Selva, right? Incentive. I hope I answered your question. Thank you. Lilia? Nicole?
Hi, Nicole, Simplifying. The hot topic these days, and you've covered as well, is tariffs and geopolitical uncertainty. And across the board, we're expecting costs to be transferred from manufacturers down to airlines. And Brian, you mentioned, you talked about a lot of robust measures that Malaysia Airlines or MAG has in place. But my question is, to what extent do you see this cascading down to passengers, and at what stage?
Thank you, Nicole. With the current situation, we hope the policymakers globally will make the best decision for all. Components, an example. I give an example of maybe CFM. CFM high pressure turbine blades. They are being manufactured in Mexico. It has to be shipped into North America first. Tariff will be induced. CFM will pass on the cost to us. Naturally, there will be cost pressure. The cost of sales will go up, Nicole. And naturally, businesses will pass on the cost to customers. I mean, that as big as candid as possible. Right? So the expectation on a worst case scenario, how much cost can it impact our business? My CFO is here. We see at this current stage probably about 25%. Worst case scenario, very pessimistic. And with that, Nicole, with higher cost of sales going up, fares has to go up. Our concern is that willingness to pay by customers to travel, it becomes an issue. Thank you. So businesses like airlines will have to circumnavigate around it. So I had a town hall yesterday, Nicole. So I did tell my team, trying to explain to 13,000 people the impact of tariff. The tariff may lead to recession and stagnation. So how do you understand recession and stagnation? So I explained to my team of 30,000 people in layman's term. It's like COVID-19. The only difference is that you can go to supermarket and you don't have to wear masks. Something like that. Thank you.
We have one at the front.
Hello, Anis from The Edge. I wanted to follow up on the Nicole questions about the cost. Do you see that with this higher cost, you will get a fresh capital injection from Khazanah?
Good question, Alice. Our ambition is no, Anis. Our ambition, we don't want capital injection. Our two guiding principle is to operate MAG to be commercially sustainable. But I will not discount if the impact on macroeconomics is the likes of COVID. Maybe some help from shareholders is needed. I don't know.
About 2.3 billion.
No. So, Anis, we still have 2.3 billion remaining that was pledged by our shareholder in 2020-2021. Thus far, we've only drawn down 1.3 billion. So we still have some fund left to weather the macroeconomic if needed. Right? I hope I answered your question. Jawab soalan cupu mas tu. To be fair, Anis, this last one. To be fair, it is first and foremost, it is not fair for the shareholder to pump in money because of the inefficiency of the organization. Do we have an agreement there? It is unfair for shareholder to pump in money if we are not efficient, MAG, if we are not running the business efficiently. However, if there is issues on macroeconomics impacted upon the business, then it's outside, it becomes strategic in nature. And it's up to the shareholder to ascertain whether it is important for MAG to be helped, assisted. Two sides of the coin there. Thank you. Anis sebagai soalan cupu mas.
Do you have any more questions from the floor?
I'm Laila from RTM. So
Siapa? Laila.
Okay, I have a question. One is what are the main drivers behind the MAG third consecutive years of operating profit despite the capacity cuts and as well the operational headwinds? And second question would be, how did MAG manage to maintain the strong EBITDA in the face of supply chain disruptions and as well the reduced capacity? Thank you.
Thank you, Laila. EBITDA, I'll pass it to my CFO. Main driver for MAG's success of 3 consecutive years of profitable at operating level. First and foremost, Laila, a bit of context. Pre-2017, thereabout, and before that, our top line revenue generated from domestic market is about 55% domestic market. And for many years, domestic market has been supporting the business. And 45% comes from international market. In 2021 or 2019, we started toying an idea of we are in a marketplace which is highly competitive. When I joined the airline in 1979, yes, I'm old, Laila. When I joined the airline in 1979, there were only about 5-6 airlines in ASEAN region. Today, as we speak, Laila, there are 36 airlines, of which 80% are low-cost carriers. So how can a premium carrier compete with low-cost carrier? Impossible. Impossible. So we reinvented ourselves, redesigned our network, and we induced a lot of international flow through our network. So as we speak, over the last 3 years, the contribution from international market on our top line revenue is 90%. That's a game changer, right? So, case in point example, in airline terminology, there's a thing called point to point. You got passengers that go from Kuala Lumpur to London. That's it. and they return. That's called point-to-point. In a network environment, you have flow from London to Australia, to Manila, to Saigon, to Philippines, to Jakarta, to Bali. So we create that flow. Case in point, previously we allocate inventory size to London point of sale, maybe one seat for him or her to sell from London to Manila with a stop in Kuala Lumpur. Or what we've induced, the point of sale, the head of sales in London have to sell 10 seats to Manila. That create international flow. You get it? So we know if we continue to compete in the domestic and largely to a certain degree in ASEAN market with low-cost carriers, we are digging our hole deeper. That's number one on network flow, the strategy. And we remain steadfast or being nimble in being efficient in our cost structure. Employees or in MAG, they earn productivity and incentive package now. Right? That means the more you work, the more you'll be paid. So it's effectively driving efficiency in the organization. And second, finally, the main driver of this shift is the culture of MAG. So Laila, the current MAG is not the MAG or Malaysia Airlines that you knew before. It's a totally different company. The culture of trust, the culture of belief, and the culture of nation building, the culture of accountability, the culture of execution, right? And as I don't know whether you have visited our premises today, Brian, Hui, myself, Captain Nasa, and my exco behind me, all don't have offices. We share spaces. That's how lean we have gone. And the structure that we operate in the organization to emulate the culture that we want to envision, to drive, propel, culture of integrity, culture of efficiency. So even the organization structure is very flat, very flat. The 13,000 people are accessible to me directly as a group managing director. So I believe those are the key drivers that was able to make us strong at the operating level. Notwithstanding our partners too. Our partners like trade, travel agents, aircraft lessors, who we have negotiated well and they believe in our journey moving forward in 2020, have actually given us a lot of breathing space. So it is in our business plan, we believe in partnership very strongly. So last point, Laila, when I was younger, I believe Malaysia in the mid-90s, Malaysia Airlines have about 200 aeroplanes or plus, and we fly to 426 destinations on our own metal and with our partners, codeshare. Today, we only have 113 planes in the group, Maswing, Firefly, Amal, and Malaysia Airlines, 113 aeroplanes, but we fly to 1,100 destinations. I can get you to Belfast if you buy a ticket with us, with our partners. Hence, the strategy of international flow. And Laila, international flow has higher yield. And it creates natural hedging on our forex. So today, Hui comfortably sits 40% on US dollars. Thank you. EBITDA.
So as what Captain has mentioned just now, we actually drive P&L. Okay. So if you talk about EBITDA, the reason, if you look at EBITDA in 2024 versus EBITDA in 2023, actually the EBITDA has almost halved. And the main reason is because 2024 our operational costs were a lot higher because of all the capacity and aircraft reliability issue. But we consciously make sure that every route we fly, every O&D generates a profitable contribution, and for us that is very key. And if you look at our yield, alright, yield remains pretty strong, 30 cents compared to pre-COVID, and our load is also high, right? Our load is also 81. So if you talk about in terms of operational performance, we remain very how to say, we are very, very robust about managing our P&L and making sure that we don't fly routes that is losing money. Yeah, we make sure that even with aircraft constraint, we consciously allocate the aircraft to routes that is profitable, that can drive the highest yield and higher return to us. So that's how we make sure that the EBITDA remains strong. No doubt, if you compare to previous year, it has come down, mainly because we lost a lot of high yielding revenue in Q4, right? And that also eroded our profitability. But bottom line is, as Captain has mentioned, we drive a very stringent and dynamic process to make sure that every route and network we fly is profitable and delivers the best yield for the aircraft asset we have. Yeah.
So just to wrap it up, Laila, before the next question, the network strategy I mentioned just now, international flow. When we mentioned about cost discipline. So forward sales, 30 days ahead, we know the booking profile. If the flight is not covering variable costs, we will reallocate our customers. So we don't burn cash unnecessarily. Thank you. Next question, please.
I'm Shauki from the Malaysia Reserve.
Shauki.
Yes.
S-H-A.
UQI. Okay. So I'm gonna ask about your talent challenges that you have mentioned. Since you have also mentioned that the MAG will be increasing its fleets, then what is your plan to retain the talents that you have, while also increasing new talents to accommodate the upcoming new fleets that you would like to have?
Shauki, you don't mind let Brian pull up?
Yes, sure.
Because he is the Chief Strategy Officer.
Thank you, Chauki. So the answer is very simple. One is we need, from an internal perspective, on the culture that we try to create, plus the work environment, we need to create a high-performing workforce. And we do that by selecting the right people for the job and with the right values in our entities, right? But our responsibility as employers is to make sure that they have the right tool sets, the right developmental programs to build them up to achieve what they need to achieve.
And rewarded well.
And they are rewarded well, right? It's a contract. So we are conscious of that. We want to create the right culture, the right ecosystem for our employees to thrive, and thereby helping them to stay with the organization. That's one. So we are also very conscious of the expertise workforce that we need, the pilots, the engineers, right, and all the other technical workforce that we have. So we have put in a lot of programs to talk about pipelines, right, developmental. How do we, entice school leavers, university graduates to join us? And hence you see over the past years, we've had a lot of awards around graduate employers of choice. We see a lot of effort put in by our HR teams to drive for employee branding and attractiveness of MAG as an employer. So we are conscious that pilots will want to explore greener pastures, likewise the engineers, as we've seen in 2024. So we put in programs where we try and replenish every year consistently to make sure that that pool of experts that we have in the company continue to be there for the future as well.
So, Shauki, I just want to add, in MAG, I spoke about trust, that you can dream big. Always remember the two guiding principles. But most importantly, every day, we remind our team members, 13,000 people, amanah. Amanah rakyat Malaysia on us. Duty of care. Shauki, the ambition of aviation facilitating trade and commerce goes back 100 years ago. 22nd November 1922. Our forefathers had this dream. So today, the call of action that we induce in MAG is that ambition. Who are we here? We are merely people who receive the baton and pass it on further. Henceforth, the amanah, the duty of care. And duty of care comes very high price, very, I wouldn't say very high price. Duty of care comes with a lot of commitment. Most importantly, Shauki, integrity. And remain focused, steadfast. Thank you.
One question.
Yes.
Laura from Carolina.
Laura, how are you? Are you going to Mata tomorrow?
Yes.
I see you tomorrow in Mata.
You mentioned about loss-making Firefly. Could you expand on that? And what's the direction that Firefly will be taking in the future?
Very good question, Laura. Yes, Firefly is not being that profitable. But I have to say the ATR operation is positive. Right? It was being brought down by the jet operation, predominantly due to factors of not able to go up to scale, because Subang Airport is a very small airport. I'm not able to share in detail our current or future plans for Firefly, because management is framing the right narrative and analysis to ascertain what should we do with Firefly moving forward. So we will be going to board sometime in June to make some recommendations. That's the best I can answer for you now. Otherwise, the board will be very angry with me, Laura. Captain Nasa, you want to add in anything on operations?
In terms of Malaysia Airlines, as I mentioned earlier on, we have been inducing a lot of maintenance strategy to ensure that the maintenance part has been addressed accordingly. In addressing our maintenance, we look into two areas. One is at the upstream in itself, and as you know, as I highlighted just now, we look at our network accordingly, whether we wanted to mount a flight based on the capability that we have. That's on the upstream side. And on the downstream side, we ensure that the maintenance has been addressed and we look into. As I mentioned, there's also a question that has been asked to all of us with regards to talent and also supply chain. We have been addressing all those areas diligently, and we hope with all this strategy are able to maintain our maintenance to ensure that we're able to support the operations.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Yes, Captain, from Business Today again.
Siapa tu?
Yeah, the cameramen are blocking me. I'm at the back here.
Okay. Selva.
Yeah,
Yes.
Selva here.
Yes,
again.
Selva.
Just to touch on the with regards to you mentioning, I mean, the CFO mentioning the EBITDA and cost management. I just want to understand a bit more on your cost rationalization. Is the process of cost rationalization complete? Is there any areas you are still looking into to improve efficiency and improving the bottom line? And the other question I have is with regards to the US tariff. It's still unclear, but the 10% levy is already being imposed. How does that impact you with regards to maintenance and components? You have agreements with Boeing. Does those agreements protect you from this kind of incidents with your airline manufacturers?
Thank you, Selva. I let the accountant answer you. But first and foremost, Selva, cost rationalization, there is no end game. It's actually a continuous thing that businesses have to embark, because the environment continues to change, especially in the airline business. Airline business, Selva, the margin that we earn at best is about 3%. But average is about 1.5%. Very small margin in this business. While the airline business is sexy, but the margin is very thin. So airlines in this industry can never take their eye off cost, even though on good times. That's my overview answer, and the details on.
So Selva, on your first question on cost rationalization, like what Captain said, is ongoing for us. To us is our daily, is expected, right, when we run the business, and it covers many areas. Areas like procurement, we continuously look at how we can strategically procure our services and products in a much more value-added way. Value-added meaning it drives not just cheap, because cheap doesn't necessarily mean good, right? We want products that actually are of good quality but right value. I think for us that's important. So what we do is we continuously look at ways to consolidate purchases so that we have scale and can buy better. We look at ways to expand the vendors that we can reach out to, so there's more competition among the vendors and we can get better pricing. So there are many things that we do every day to look at how we can drive better value for the organization. Apart from that, Brian's side and Captain Nasa's side will always look at how do we optimize and also commercial our network to actually squeeze more utilization from the aircraft, so that we can sweat our asset more and therefore drive the unit cost down. And there are a lot of other areas where we look at how we can actually optimize costs through minimizing wastages, right? How do we do better in terms of getting passengers to order the meals earlier so that we don't upload too much meals on board and later on throw them away. So it's an ongoing thing for us, and it's as it should be in any airline business, because it's very thin margin. Yeah.
Selva, I'm trying to put on your cap, trying to understand your question, Cap, because I think we are not answering you well. First and foremost, cost realization is continuous. But if you are referring to the financial restructuring 2020, that has been completed.
Yeah,
that has been completed. The balance sheet, the liabilities has been completed. But daily cost management is given. So I believe I answered you correctly this time, right?
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. The liability of 25.7 billion and so forth, right? That has been completed.
Yeah, so that has been completed, and this year, in fact, is the final year of the restructuring, where by end of this year, we will have repaid all the deferred loans and lease. So by end of this year. So this year will be the final year for the restructuring. Apologies for not getting your question right. The second question on tariff, right? So we are still trying to figure out, and our vendors are the same. When we reach out to vendors, they are still also trying to figure out how is the tariffs going to impact them. But having said that, there are a few, I would say, safeguards in the contracts we have with our vendors, right? First thing first is there is an escalation cap in terms of cost. So beyond certain percentage, normally we will share the escalation. So therefore, in a way, we are protected to some extent. And we don't buy that much. The majority cost element that has got US impact is actually maintenance cost. So maintenance costs, like we actually send our aircraft engines to shop for maintenance, but the shop will actually put in new spares, and actually they will charge us labor costs. 80% of a shop visit is actually maintained, is actually spares. And out of the 80%, only about 50 to 60% are relating to spares that are subject to tariff, right? So when we look at all this, right, actually there could be a situation whereby the impact will not be fully passed to us because of, like I said, it's not 100%. Having said that, we are also seeing that some of US vendors are calling force majeure, meaning they're saying it's extraordinary and therefore I want to terminate the contract. And the worry is the likes of Boeing might just say that and say, I don't want to honor the contract I signed with you, and therefore I can terminate a contract. I'm protected by law because of the force majeure. You come to the table and buy at a higher price. That's something that is unknown. We are not sure how you pan out.
Selva, I would just like to add into Hui with regards to tariff. You know, over the last 2 weeks, the amount of daily calls that I have and Brian with CEOs of other airlines, our suppliers, vendors, and so forth, I tell you, and these calls have to happen at night because of time difference, right? But personally, Selva, clarifying that, I am confident policymakers will make the right decision, right? While my team is asking me to lean towards a pessimistic view, which is good, and I agree, so that we are prepared for the worst. But I personally feel that the policymakers will come to their senses, and maybe there will be a slight jerk impact, but not as what we see in the news today. Yeah, that's my personal view. Sorry, Hui. Thank you. What time do we have?
We have one more question.
One more question. Yeah. Amanda. Supper. Okay.
I'm Melissa from BFM.
I can't hear you.
Melissa
from
BFM.
BFM.
Right, so given the...
How's Keith?
He's good.
Send my greetings to him, yeah? You don't send greeting to Philip C.
Okay. Given the capacity reduction across MAG airlines, is there a revised timeline for normalizing the fleet availability, and how will this adjustment impact your full year 2025 capacity guidance?
Okay. The capacity reduction in quarter 4, 2024 has been reinstated as we speak today, Melissa. However, running a good business, there is this terminology that not terminology, there's this strategy that airlines all over the world use. It's called dynamic capacity adjustment. So if routes are not making money, or henceforth, you need to pull those capacity out. So that is continuously ongoing. If I get your question right, the capacity reduction from quarter 4 has been reinstated. But dynamic capacity adjustment continues on a daily basis. So average airlines all over the world manage capacity monthly, weekly, quarterly in a tune of between 1 to 5%. That happens. Sometimes because of very lean forward booking, or many other issues. You know, there are many other things that impact capacity reduction, bilateral agreements and so forth. I hope I answered your question. Thank you. Last question, please. Amanda.
Yes. So, Amanda from TV3. So I just want to ask, as part of the mitigation strategies on the cost discipline, right? What kind of contracts are you renegotiating? Which areas are these? And number 2, is there any efforts for this year to diversify your non-airlines revenue? Because I noticed the net profit is actually quite high, quite good, as opposed to the airlines. I know majority of your revenue comes from the airline side, but the NIAM for non-airlines is actually quite high. So maybe you could share with us.
Correct. With regards to Amanda, with regards to contract renegotiation under the current macroeconomic environment, we are early stage at the moment. We have had early calls already, but we have not gone into renegotiation yet because we really do not know what's coming out 90 days from now, right? Because North America, United States of America have put a 90-day freeze, right? Everything remains status quo. To a certain degree, we see that Malaysia GDP will remain strong. Forecast is about 4.7%. Maybe if it impacts us, if the macroeconomics really pan out on the pessimistic way, we still feel that the GDP for Malaysia should hover around 4%, which is quite healthy. But our biggest worry is cost of sales. Like siapa tanya tadi, Nicole asked, right? The cost of sale may rise, henceforth the airfares may rise, right? It's actually a domino effect. Cost of sale increases, and I explained to somebody about margins, right? 1% to 3%. Amanda, 1% margin is equivalent to one Starbucks. That's all. That's how much a profit an airline make from a customer, right? And diversifying our non-airline business, that is the ambition. So what the journey towards diversifying our non-airline revenue, our ambition is 30% of group contribution by 2030, doubling of what we see today. But you cannot just jump into the ocean, or you cannot just jump in and run the business. You need to build scale. Scale will only be reciprocated with your quality of your product. So catering, MAB engineering services, our academy, our cargo operations, our cargo business, our ground handling, we need scale, and we need credibility. So we believe very strongly we are building up this credibility so that our future customers have trust in us for us to deliver services to them. Cargo. So cargo and maybe cargo, they are very strong in the eastern region, in Asia Pacific. Do we look at beyond Asia Pacific? The answer is we should. So we do it with our own metal, or we do it with partners. So these are the things that is moving part. But nevertheless, we have, I agree with you, we have to grow the non-airline business. Cargo, when we talk about cargo, a lot of us only think about aircraft, freighter aircraft, and the belly of the passenger aircraft that cargo move their shipment. But not forgetting, there is one element of the cargo ecosystem which is very profitable, is the warehousing. So Mass Cargo owns a very robust, strong, big warehouse, which other cargo operators that land in Kuala Lumpur uses that warehouse. So that's business to us. I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, so I know your target is 30% by 2030, but any material increase for this financial, for 2025? 2025,
well, it will be an incremental increase. Currently, non-airline is about 17%, 15% contribution to the group. So it will be a journey towards 2030 to reach 30%.
So if I may add, subsidiaries at Aerodarat, we've seen increase in FOCA revenue.
FOCA means foreign airline.
Foreign airlines. So they are handling more and more foreign airlines. So we do see increase in third-party revenue for subsidiaries at Aerodarat, and they are continuing to grow and expand their customer base. Yeah. So it's an ongoing journey because I think they aggressively went out to chase after third-party business last year, and we have seen it grow by 20-30% in 2024. Sorry.
Thank you.
And yeah, just one more. On the outlook for this year.
Curi ayam tu lebih daripada 4 soalan. Yes, Amanda, last one.
Yes, okay. So because we are already in April, and then the tariff cost is like until July. So and then you also have your pipelines of bookings and everything like that. So for this year, and you did mention, in worst case scenario also is a 25% cost increase in terms of sales, right? The 25%. So for this financial year, what kind of all these factors, and we are already like midway, how do you see your outlook for 2025?
We remain steadfast as per budget to be profitable this year. Remain steadfast. But we are very cognizant of all the moving parts driven by macroeconomics. I do have numbers, but I am not able to share those upside, downside forecasts. So to the organization, we remain steadfast to break even. Most importantly, Amanda, is for management and the organization to establish trigger point to circumnavigate around it so that we can reach 2025 being profitable. It will be a challenging year. That's my best answer to you.
So you're confident you still maintain the trajectory, the momentum, and remain profitable for this year?
I wouldn't say I hope so. We have to. Right. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen. One more question.
One more. Yeah.
Yes.
This is Janine from Chinese Media Caijing, so I travel all the way from China.
Wow. Okay, you get one question.
Thank you. So my first question is about the COMAC, since you mentioned that there's no MOU signed this time with COMAC, but I'm wondering, is there any talk, are you in talk with COMAC? What is the possibility of MAG buying COMAC aircraft such as C919 or C901? And my second question is also about Chinese market. There's a new route linking China in 2025 to Chongqing, I noticed on the slide. So how do you predict the Chinese market this year? Have you seen an increase of passenger or cargo needs in the past few years? Any data you can share with us? Thank you so much.
Thank you. How do you spell your name again?
My name is Janine, Janine.
Janine.
Yeah.
Janine. Okay. With regards to COMAC, we are evaluating. So it's not end of the game with COMAC yet. So you're recording my statement, you pass it on to the CEO of COMAC. So COMAC, we are still evaluating. So Brian is currently doing 3 aircraft campaign for 2030 and beyond, up to 2043. So he is doing an evaluation for airplanes until 2043. So COMAC is indeed still in play, but we have not opened up the RFP yet, right? So when the time comes, then probably. So there is no, the door has not been closed. It's still open with COMAC. It's still open with other manufacturers. However, how we select aeroplane, number one, it must meet our business strategy. It must meet our product strategy, product ambition that we want to roll out to the market. And thirdly, most importantly, it must be commercially beautiful for us. Okay, on Chinese market, I got my chief commercial officer behind. We are growing the market. So I'm just flipping. I know some new destinations. Are we going to China? None. Yeah. So before I pass to Brian, we know that China domestic market has surpassed 2019 level, better than 2019, and we know that in 2024, international Chinese market is 30% behind 2019, but growing, and we're confident that the international in China will normalize itself maybe later this year. I pass to capacity and destination to China.
So Johnny, thank you very much for the question. China is an important market for Malaysia Airlines. It is a market that we intend to grow. Today we fly to Beijing, Shanghai, Canton, Guangzhou, as well as Xiamen. And we think this is not enough. We are very clear that we need to grow our presence there. China is a tough market. It is a tough market. There are significant players in the market, and we hope to be able to partner with a few of them in order to grow our presence there. Over the next few years, yes, there are plans, Chongqing being one of them, but we will also evaluate other destinations as the market develops. We know today China is very much domestic travel focused. There are movements and improvements in international outflow from China. We hope to be able to capture that market as we go along in the coming months.
Thank you. One more, non-stop. Last one, Bilkish. Go ahead, Bilkish.
This question is to Brian, actually.
Okay,
so
thank you.
In your slides, right, you mentioned that some of the potential destinations, there's a list of it. So one of it is Tashkent, Uzbekistan. So what is Malaysia Aviation Group's view on Central Asia? Because now we have a lot of airlines from this part of the world going to Central Asia. And why only Uzbekistan, why not Almaty, Kazakhstan?
That is a very loaded question, Lukesh. We recognize that we have a white space in Central Asia, right? And we want to have some presence there. If I may be honest, that market still needs a lot of study because we've never been as traditionally, we've only used Tashkent once for our tech stops and freighters and stuff like that. We've never actually flown direct into Central Asia. So as with any new market that we develop, we're going to have to go through a very thorough evaluation. Off the cuff, looking at the initial numbers, Tashkent looks pretty interesting because perhaps the market size is bigger. We also have a certain amount of corporate presence, corporate Malaysia presence in that region as well. So that's where we mark it down. But that list is not final, obviously, because we will change and evolve as the market changes. We have a strong partnership with Astana, and certainly that is a key consideration as we move forward as well, in terms of how we think about a Central Asia destination, placeholder Tashkent, but yes, it could be Almaty at some point as well.
So, Bilkish, my steer to Brian and Desi on the commercial side. If you Central Asia is white space. We must evaluate it seriously. However, it cannot be a point-to-point play. It has to be a network flow play. Once they can establish that network flow play, then I'll give the green light.
If let's say you fly to Almaty, for example, right, you can bring them, the passengers to Kuala Lumpur, and then from Kuala Lumpur you can fly them to Australia or...
Agreed. So they have to do the math, they have to do the numbers. It's not a one-way flow, it has to be a two-way flow. Otherwise the route will be imbalanced. You only make money on one side. The other side you're not making money. It has to be balanced network flow. Okay? Thank you. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Before I pass it back to Nelia, your takeaway and our recap is that Alhamdulillah, Malaysia Aviation Group recorded net profit after tax of 54 million ringgit, alongside with an operating profit of 113 million ringgit. Third consecutive year of positive operating result, and the EBITDA 788 million ringgit, with a strong cash balance remaining end of 2024 of 3 billion. For that, ladies and gentlemen, we thank you so much for your presence here today. Do we have lunch or makan for our guests? I'll pass it back to Nelia. Thank you, Nelia.
Thank you everyone for your questions, and to Dato' Captain Nizam, the leadership team, and all the members of the media for being with us this morning. Lunch will be served at the Fairway Coffee House, located on the ground floor from 12 p.m. onwards. So in the meantime, please help yourselves to some refreshments outside in the foyer area. Thank you very much.